All right. Welcome back to the Board Drill Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Kyle. With me is my co-host, Matt. Tonight, we have a special guest, Coach Mitch Wieland from Iowa City Liberty High School, who's the OC. Coach, welcome to the Board Drill. Matt pumping with his gold chain bracelet on, so I love it. There we go.
Thanks for having
Coach.
me.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for hopping on with us. One of a few Iowa coaches we've had on now, so we're definitely getting that Midwest vibe going on the show. I love it. So, Coach, tonight we're going to talk about the most common quarterback mistakes, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Absolutely. So, good offensive chat for Matt and Mitch here, and I'm going to sit here and poke holes in it and be the dick on defense. So it should be super fun. Coach, so I know you got a presentation. Why don't you go ahead and share that? We'll get into it. While he's sharing that, please make sure to subscribe and like our channels. If you could subscribe on YouTube, we're almost to 1,000. Get us over the hump. If you're a TikTok guy, we're growing big there. We post clips every single day. That's at Board Drill on TikTok. Follow us on Twitter at Board Drill. Matt, you laughing at the fact that we're on TikTok now?
No, I just hope that none of our guys call themselves TikTok guys.
Yeah, that's true. Don't call yourself a TikTok guy. And then always subscribe to us at boarddrill.com. We release weekly articles, usually 2 per week, and our podcast. So if you want all of our stuff to come right to your email inbox, you can subscribe at boarddrill.com. There is a free subscription that gets all of our articles and our podcast to it. All right, without further ado, Coach, let's talk about these common mistakes by quarterbacks.
Yeah, let's do it. All right. Can you see it okay?
Yeah, you're all good.
Yes, sir.
All right. Okay. So yeah, like I said, we're going to be going over, and keep in mind, a lot of this is anecdotal. I have a decent amount of experience. I've also talked to a lot of quarterback coaches across the country, and a lot of these are widespread too, but obviously it's just kind of my own list here. Just a little bit of background on me. So I've been coaching QBs for the last 9 years. I've had 7 of those QBs named to the All-State team here in Iowa. I spent my first 5 years at a small private school in Iowa City, right down the road from the University of Iowa, where I got to be part of a state title team and a state runner-up team. And in the last 4 years, transitioned over to Iowa City Liberty. We're a 5A, the biggest classification in Iowa. This past season, we were semifinalists, and I was fortunate enough to be named the 2024 Broyles Award winner for the state of Iowa for the Assistant Coach of the Year. So that was a huge, huge honor.
Nice. Congratulations on that, Coach.
Appreciate it. All right. I just got through this and do have to give one of our assistant coaches and fellow board drill connoisseur, Coach Hartman on staff. He helped me put this presentation together. I did this clinic a few weeks ago, and as nicely as possible, he kind of said, like, hey, you want me to make this better? I was like, go for it. And so he kind of pimped it out for me. Just kind of threw in a few stats from the last few years to give myself a little street cred to the audience out there, because, the University of Iowa doesn't quite give the quarterback vibes. Some of us here, we do still take a lot of pride in the quarterback position, though. But, 3 years ago, had a big, strong, prototypical quarterback. He was like 6'2", 205 pounds, was one of the top statistical passers in the state of Iowa. Pretty solid season with him that year. His senior year, led the state in yards, touchdowns. Did keep the interceptions in to just kind of show you that, I am human. I don't have all the things figured out. And then this past season, we had a new guy at the helm who was just the polar opposite. He's about a 5'8", 180-pound kid. Not the strongest arm, but, we were able to still be really efficient and put up some good numbers. So no matter who the dude is back there, we've been able to have a lot of success at this position.
And if you're listening on the drive right now, the young guy that he's talking about, he just put up on the screen, threw 32 touchdowns and only 3 interceptions. So something to be said about that 5'8" guy running around slinging it, I'm guessing.
Yep. All right. So first common mistake I see is, and a lot of this as I go through these, I just keep all these in mind, as I'm starting with quarterbacks young. I try to get with them as early as, like junior high. So get on this first common issue I see is what we call this weak finishing position. All right. So a good finishing position here, and I'll kind of come back to this in a second, but we look at one of the greatest throwers of all time, and, Tom Brady will be my GOAT because he also, just his transformation and adaptation to the throwing motion. You can see here, just really what we call the stacked spine between Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady. We got our head really neutral here, and our shoulders are sitting at this nice 90-degree perpendicular plane to that spine. Okay, we got our hand right in front. Okay, we call this eating the burger. So all of this, I'm going to go back for 1 second here. Okay, so that's what we call a good one. So what I see a lot is we got guys, kind of lean forward. Their head's not weak, say stacked on the spine. All right. And when this happens, we're going to lose a lot of accuracy from the vertical plane. And the other thing we see is our head gets outside the frame. And I got good and bad examples here. So we say we get too twisty. We're not being rotational throwers. We're just kind of trying to spin that thing around our entire body instead of eating that burger and having that physics of equal and opposites. If I stop this collision, that's going to launch the ball forward for me. Okay, so kind of show you a clip here. All right, so it's Graham. How's this?
It's actually playing fine, so you may be able to play it. Yeah,
it's good.
All right, so as we go here, the end zone view will be a little better. But as you go on, you can kind of see right as we're talking about. So he's really leaning to his left here. Okay. And he's also getting real twisty. You'll see this finish. Boom. See how his back leg ends up all the way in front, shoulder all the way around. Okay. Here's a better look at it from behind.
Is this what you're referring to as twisty?
Yes.
He's
twisty.
Twisting too much?
Yep. Twisting. So as Graham gets here, okay, you'll see coming across. So right here. Okay. And then see how he's leaning forward. And he's going to end up swinging all the way around. I know he's got a little bit of a rush, but nothing crazy. We're just throwing a little quick game snag here. And so like I said, this throw is an example of both. And he ends up missing low and outside. All right. One little caveat I do want to make, if you're throwing to a receiver on the run, don't take this as oh, he missed high or he threw it behind him. There can also be some, anticipation or just spatial awareness, just missing a moving target. This is a lot more of your just basic throws here, but we still want to be really vertical, have a good spine. So some drills that I found that have been really beneficial for this, we just call these form finishes. So if we go back here a second. Okay. So we just start with the ball in the field goal post. Okay. Points at the back. You can see he's starting kind of in that finishing position. We're working on, boom, eating the burger. It's in really neutral, finishing through. Okay, right here. So he's good, tall, driving through. So this is the kid that graduated a couple years ago. You can see, and this is our current quarterback, but this is him as a freshman. Maybe a sophomore. I can't remember. And so you'll see very different quarterbacks here, both all-state kids for us. And you'll kind of see an example. Now, Reese isn't the most natural thrower. We've had to do a lot of things here. So at this point, we were really working on his leg drive. I wasn't as worried about the upper body stuff. But you can see this actually is not a great clip. See how he's leaning forward a little bit. So this is something he's gotten a lot better as the years gone on. But Graham is a much better example of what we're looking for here with that boom finish being really explosive.
So, Coach, question here, and I'm sure it's going to be a theme throughout this because you're going to have video and everything. Do you film often? Do you film every day? Do you film once a week? Because right now, if you're listening, you're filming indie, and so is this a thing you film every day? Would you try to film it once a week? How do you go about that?
I try to film it every day. We're pretty fortunate. Our head coach is awesome at recruiting managers and stuff. But yeah, it kind of depends. I do film as much as possible. so we can kind of break this down, and I try and upload their form and send it to them. Sometimes I'll give them notes. Sometimes I'll just put it up there for them to watch and pick apart themselves. But yeah. Okay. This is kind of the next evolution of it. So this is just, we call this precision passing. All right. So you can see we're really kind of just combine our basic drop back drill with a touch of accuracy, but we're really focusing on really solid in rhythm, on time, good mechanics. All right. So Emerson here is just taking a drop, and you can see the receivers will be jogging across and they just put their hands in a random spot. Got a couple clips, and you can see it's like right here. Receiver's got his hands lower. Emerson's going to take his drop, sets up. And like I said, this day we're really focused on those front sides. So, I mean, this is really good position here. Okay. Really neutral, really good. Okay. Driving through and trying hitting that spot right there. So like I said, we just really preach the on time, on target. All right. And here's another kid here. So you see our receiver, he's got his hands up. You see our other kid. Okay. We're just working on 3 and a hitch here. Okay. But again, really good shoulders, good leg drive. Okay. Hitting the spot right on target. All right. Next issue I see is overstriding. This is probably one of the biggest issues that I see. Overstriding is just going to lead to a whole slew of problems. It throws off your kinematic sequence. I kind of compare this to, like, I don't know if you guys are much golfers, but I'm sure there's, plenty of people out there. Like, I compare it to the guy who's been golfing forever that just has the weirdest swing, but like when he hits it, but he has to do a whole bunch of quirky things to make it work. When you overstride, you're just kind of throwing off the whole sequence. This can lead to inconsistent accuracy, some wobbly spirals. You're going to have trouble putting touch or air on the ball just because that leg is getting so in front of you, and loss of power due to that lack of weight transfer. Okay, so I'll show you an example. And this is the most common time I see it here. There's a guy, Reese, here, like I said, led the state in a lot of categories. 3 and right here. So we're just kind of throwing a little seam concept here. Okay. And he's ready to throw it. All right. But receiver's not ready. So just kind of like a basketball player, and they go to shoot it, but defender's a little closer than they think, and they kind of like double clutch. Okay. So he kind of double clutches here. And then the overstriding usually leads from just, you get off a little bit and that front foot reaches, and you're going to see he gets way out in front of his frame. Okay. He can't. So then you can see, like, just, I know it's kind of hard to see, but not really much of a leg drive here. So his arms lagging a little bit, and this ball just comes out real high on him. Okay. And luckily this guy's on defense because he can't catch. So we do get bailed out here. That's why sometimes I'm like, the interception stat, there can be some unlucky ones, and there can also be equally as many good breaks. All right. So if you got somebody with that's an overstrider here, one thing I love doing is just putting an inanimate object between their legs, like in this case, our yoga ball. All right. And then really this is just, they can't stride. To keep that ball between their legs, I'm really just emphasizing, over exaggerating, keeping this front foot in front of us, driving off that back foot. Because like I said, overstriding usually occurs from the front foot just reaching too far. We actually added an element of our front side here because Graham was getting a little twisty on me. So kind of goes back to that first drill. If you got a kid who's really struggling to keep that front side in tight, and maybe like hunching over a little bit as he throws, like a pitcher, I'm just putting a ball in his hand. But yeah, so we got kind of a dual goal here. All right. Another one we just call these our rapid version. I love rapid fires. I think they just really force a kid to let it rip, show you like kind of the true muscle memory mechanics of it. But right here, like I said, they have to keep that back foot in there. Okay. So this really emphasizes driving off that back foot so they don't end up reaching too far and overstriding. Okay. So we just drop out 4 balls here. I'm just really focusing on driving through that back foot, keeping a good, solid base here.
Matt, I'm starting to figure out why I wasn't a very good thrower when I was a quarterback. I overstrided a lot.
Yeah, it's an epidemic. Do you play baseball?
Nope. Matt, you've seen me play quarterback before. I kind of run around. I was an option quarterback though, so.
So yeah, who even
You
cares?
can pitch.
Yeah, perfect.
I'm great on the pitch, but it's throwing it in the air across the line of scrimmage.
All right. So, any questions so far? Kind of just keeping this.
No, that makes all sense. I
rolling.
mean, like, Coach, that makes perfect sense, right? The overstriding, the twisty thing, and looking at it. And I love that you have these drills that work on that, because I think that's the important piece, right? If we just said, hey, don't do that, and then moved on to the next thing, it's like, okay, great. Well, how do I stop doing that?
That's the thing I think that's so unique about the quarterback position is like I don't believe in like everyday drills for the quarterback position just because it's the only position. Like there's one. I mean, you got one dude out there, and he's working on one thing that maybe nobody else really needs to work on. Like for instance, our kid, like this, kind of our Graham a couple years ago, just a fantastic thrower of the football. So you'll see coming up here, we worked a lot more on his like pocket presence and some other stuff where like Reese, our kid we had this previous year had really good feel in the pocket and just had a lot of creative nature to him, but wasn't a great thrower of the football. So we worked a lot more like fundamentals. So that's just one thing I think is unique about the quarterback position. I would encourage people out there to really think about like, you don't need to do just all the basic same fundamental drills that you do with other positions. Like you got one guy, if you go back after a Friday night and you're like, okay, we missed a lot of these throws or we really struggled with this. Like your indie time can literally just be that.
Yeah, good point.
All right. So now kind of moving on from the throwing portion, now a little bit more of the pocket presence stuff here. So another common issue I see with quarterbacks is we get our eyes on the rush. All right. This is probably one of my biggest pet peeves that I just drill into our quarterbacks. Okay. Our eyes come down off the read to the D line. All right. And then we're trying to become like a running back instead of a quarterback in the pocket. I give our guys crap all the time and just tell them like, we are not a one read now QB. Okay. Because if we do that, it actually ends up, we bail out earlier than we even should. And a lot of times it ends up with us bailing out of the pocket instead of just stepping up and keeping our eyes downfield. So I'll show you some bad examples here. A couple years ago, so you can see we're just throwing a snag concept. Okay. And Graham, like as we go, I'm not quite sure what he was reading here, but I think he wanted the snag, wasn't open. So just immediately gets his eyes here. And you'll see we got this corner coming wide open in the end zone. But instead, he just kind of gets his eyes to the D line, tuck it up, and I mean, gets sacked, 1 yard sack, but still, missed opportunity because we got our eyes down on the D line here. All right. So this is one of my drills that I do to kind of get guys away from that. So we just got a receiver back here. We call this our live pocket drill. Okay, I know it's kind of hard to tell, but I'm right here playing center. I usually just get some managers and some guys on the IR. And, I'll just say, like, okay, everybody move right except the left tackle. So you can see here, we're all moving right. Quarterback just, when I say he's got to find the soft spot, step up in it, throw a ball. And I know, and this is one of those I usually try and record just to make sure they're not cheating since I'm in the drill, but we got to be looking at our receiver the whole time. Okay, got his eyes up, delivers. All right. And a lot of these drills I do, I don't really use bags or anything. I try and make everything as like random and reactionary as possible because, you just never know with high school, just D linemen in general, offensive linemen, like you just never know where your soft spot's going to be, what's going to happen, how to move within that pocket. Another one of my favorite ones here is we call this our double evade drill. So I'm kind of standing back here off camera, but you can kind of see like our manager looking at us, but we got two DNs and then kind of like we call them our contained backers here. So as he takes his drop, can't remember who. All right, so I pointed this kid. Okay, we got to make the first guy miss. All right, gets out and around, and then we got to be ready because usually somebody else is coming. It's not enough to get away from the first guy. We got to be ready, step up. Okay. And I know it's kind of hard to tell, but we actually work on throwing the ball away here. So I got a couple guys just standing back there, and we're actually throwing to a receiver at this time. We're working on like, can I make this guy miss, or do I need to take my medicine and throw the ball away? Because in my opinion, people don't work on just knowing when to take that medicine and just get rid of the ball. Okay, so you can see here, he kind of sets up, like, nope, defender squares me up. I got nothing here. So he just launches this thing. All right. There's other one. So then you can see going. Now we go the other way. I got to make the first guy miss. Okay. Get ready for the second one. Get out of the way. Got him. Yeah. So just kind of working those, a little bit of creative, right? Just kind of playing tag on the playground. Make them miss. I don't care how.
No, I do like, I mean, defensively, I mean, I don't like that you do this, but it's good that you bring that second guy because, right, we have all these different rules when you break the pocket. There's guys inverting, there's coverages moving and shifting. And so very rarely, hopefully, if we execute right, are you just going to break the pocket and no one's going to be coming for you, right? There's
sure.
rules built in for that. So I think this is a really good part of the drill is like, just because you make one guy miss, you better expect that another guy's going to come now and to be ready to either make a throw or throw it away, just like you're saying, or, eat it if you have to.
Another kind of just reactionary drill here. So they're just jogging away. We call this our blind chaos. So got two guys trailing him on my first go. He starts jogging away on my second go. Both guys are going to attack him here. We just got to react, avoid, ball. Okay, so nothing crazy, but just working on, again, kind of just that double move, just being ready, making sure our feet are underneath us, having a good base. Okay, and then if we do something stationary, I always try and add a second element where, like, the second part of the drill, what I want to see is, we get by them both, receivers moving with me. You can see Graham takes a really good reset. So you can see right here, he's at his target. And I tell the receivers, you can go either way, like, be unpredictable, make our quarterback react a little bit. So you can see Graham does a really good job here. Reset, gets shoulders, everything going over there. Ball. Okay, so here's just kind of a couple good clips here. All right, so you can see just running variation of mesh here. Goes to throw the rail's covered. All right, gets a little pressure in his face, but the thing restarts. Pause. Where's that pause? There we go. But the thing he does really well the whole time is, and you can see as he goes, his eyes never get to the D-line. He just kind of feels that guy coming up, and his eyes are still downfield the entire time. Like, he's looking to throw still, even after he breaks the pocket. And then finally, he just takes off, gets nice scramble, tries to chuck a dude, even though he's like 5'8" and $160.
That's how it works when you're.
But we love it. I tell them all the time, like, you want to inspire these guys to block for you better. You lay the boom, and if you get the boom laid on you, you better get up quick. All right.
Well, Matt, in the theme of the board drill, right? You guys love to pick on corners. So if there's going to be a guy to run him over, that's the one.
True.
That's the guy you want to target. Yeah.
Propaganda.
Right. You're right. He was playing chess, not checkers. All right. And here's kind of another one. So you can see here, actually, this wasn't on purpose, but we do like our mesh here. Running another version of mesh. Okay. So you can see going one. He's off that one. Getting his eyes coming to the crosser. All right. Then gets down to our field mesh here. Gets him coming across, and we end up getting a big gain. And I think just by instilling that belief in the quarterbacks that keep your eyes off the D-line and on your read, you will be able to feel it. You'll be able to move within there. Just trust it. I tell them all the time, like, I don't care if my grandma, who's 80 years old and in a wheelchair, is your left tackle. Like, you're giving Grandma Charlotte the benefit of the doubt every single play. All right. Next common one I see a lot is trying to outrun the rush. Okay. We never want to try and outrush the guy in the same direction. Okay. We don't want to make it a foot race. Even if you're faster, that guy's got more momentum. We want to go against the grain. Okay. So we want to make those guys change directions, because even those big dudes, like, when they get moving, they can get us down. When we hit the top of our drop, like, we're at a standstill. We have zero momentum. They got all of it. So just to kind of show you a couple clips here. All right. So if you watch our right tackle here, I don't know, this kid was freaking good. Was committed to University of Iowa, absolute stud, just beats the absolute piss about our right tackle, steps up, okay, and Reese tries to, and I mean, he kind of does outrun him that way, but ideally what I'm saying is we want to go, if he's rushing us this way, we want to go out and replace him the way that he came from, okay? Here's another clip. So you can see, I do love showing JV clips too, just also to kind of show the people out there that like this stuff translates, happens at all the levels, and even your JV kiddos can do this stuff and learn this stuff. All right. So we don't get an out call here. We leave a guy right off the edge. Quarterback comes this way. Ideally, we want to go out and around this way, replace him, go what we say against the grain, tries to outrun him, and then we just kind of got to launch it downfield and throw it away. All right. So one of my favorite drills to do this, we actually link up with the D line for this one. So we call this our rodeo drill. Okay, so, and it helps the D-line, they get to work on their free rushes, or, they beat their guy off the line real quick, go line and bust an assignment, whatever. They get to kind of work on that, because sometimes D-linemen too just get so excited when they get back there and don't finish the play. But if he's rushing us from this way, we're really we're trying to get back out where he came from. Okay, so he steps up this way. Graham's going to step up and try and get out that way. All right. And we kind of put him within this confinement here just to give him a little bit of parameters, but we let him go a little bit. Okay. Same thing. All right. And you can kind of tell some of these guys have done this drill a lot and know our quarterback's move. So I got Jackson here, does a really good job just sitting on his front shoulder. All right. Graham tries his best to get up. Honestly might, but again, he's coming this way. I got to get out wherever he came from, no matter what. And then definitely another element of this, usually don't do this part of the D-line, hence me hopping in there, up the guts. Because I think when you get that pressure right up the gut, it's tough. It's tough, man. Like just as a quarterback, like you don't really have that like against the grain either way. So, I mean, we just really focus on its tag. All right. So he sees, just get out and around, change direction. I don't care how. If you watch any of our quarterbacks, like obviously we don't want to take sacks. We don't take a lot of sacks. But when we do, we've taken some pretty big ones, and like I think everything kind of comes with a little bit of a drawback. So I know there's people out there that are probably pressing me on this idea how much like depth we're losing, which isn't wrong, but we, like I said, we end up with a lot of broken pockets and getting out of there and making big plays. So I think it kind of outweighs it.
Coach, I got a question for you. This is awesome stuff, and this might be a little bit off topic for you, but one of the things we always struggled with was getting the wide receivers on the same page of the quarterback once that pocket's broken. Any quick advice you could give for, I know that some people have their set scramble rules. We always found that very difficult to, because it depends on the play you're running, right? I mean, not everything's going to be a perfect situation. So any advice you could give on how to match what you're doing here with what you're going to see in game when the quarterback breaks? What's the communication between your quarterback and receivers?
Oh man, that is a great question, because we also struggle with our scramble drill too. As much as we get out, luckily we got a couple pretty smart kids that have been able to figure out, if you're going away from the ball, come back. If you're near me, go away. But we try and tell them just don't get in somebody else's path, and our quarterback will usually make us right. I know that's not a great answer.
Hey, that's common to hear, and that's kind of where we were at. And it never sat. I was always an O-line guy, so I never had a good answer for that. And it's always interesting to hear different people's perspectives on it. And that's always one of the tough things. I felt like it's easy to get the quarterback. Not easy, but once that quarterback can break, and especially if you have a athlete back there, But what's going to, how do you match that up downfield is always a tough part.
Yeah. One thing we've kind of started to do more is we've tried to do like during our 7-on-7s, we'll just have a totally, like, the kids won't even know it's coming or anything. We'll just have a random scramble drill just to practice. Sometimes it just takes reps. And I think that's the hardest part, is just repping the scramble drill, because you don't want to like waste a rep. You want to work on your reads and reps and all that. That's the part that I've always struggled on, to be honest, of like, but it's a crucial part. Like, it is a big part of our offense, where like we will kind of just take drills and implement it within and rep it kind of simultaneously with whatever we're doing in there. But just finding grass, really.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, so here's kind of, I'll get to the end zone clip so you can see it a little better. So go on here, and this is an example of that up the gut rush. Defense here runs a nice little double-A blitz, kind of fools our O-line and our running back here. He thought he was good to go, so he's going to get out in his route, and then at the last second realized Graham just does a really good job, subtle, right? But he still has his eyes downfield the whole time, okay? And he's going to hit our crosser, coming in for a nice easy score here. Yeah, so play this full speed scene. See, it's nothing crazy. Just keep your eyes downfield, avoid that rush, trust it.
Fire the 3. 22, whoever you are, you're fired. You got B gap rush there, buddy. Come on.
Oh. All right. So this is actually
his dad's gonna call me. Yeah. Be all pissed off now.
Love it. This is actually the same game as the bad clip I showed. And like I said, we rep these with all the guys, and I just kind of talked to our dude here and be like, hey, like they're bringing a lot of heat right now. Like, you might need to be ready. Like, this is our JVO line too. Like they're still working. Our communication wasn't great. Like, we needed, if we see a free rusher, man, I mean, we got to go against the grain here. So this is literally the next series. Okay. Does a much better job out and around, comes back. And then you can see, here's a teach tape for you, Matt. Look at this. Great scramble drill with 3 dudes in one area.
That's what it always feels like it ends up like, right?
Yep. So yeah, and this one's kind of tough, running a mesh here. So he's just running his mesh. He doesn't see him behind him, so he thinks he's the near guy. Get a completion. All right. Kind of moving into our next topic here. Throwing the deep ball. Okay. Firm believer. I truly believe every quarterback can throw the deep ball here. It's like our guy this last season he'll be the first to tell you too. He probably had the weakest arm in our whole quarterback room. But the deep ball is not about arm strength. It's all about timing. All right. We need to know our landmarks, and we need to know when we can hit those landmarks with our receivers here. Just like I kind of pointed out here, just that decision point. So I'll show you a couple different clips. All right. So this first one, we're just going to throw like a little slap fade here. So he's going to take 1, 2, 3, hitch. All right. So just for reference, is about 36 yards. We hit him on here. Okay. Here you go. Same game. This is actually same route. Little different presentation though. Okay. This is just actually an RPO. Stone flat fade here, but we get play fake. Okay. Quick gather. Ball. This one, 37 yards or 36. Right. Like right about the same number. All right. Slightly different drop, but he knows those landmarks. Okay. Here we go. Different game. Okay. Different drop. We hit a pump fake here. Again, just a quick gather. All right. Launch this thing. But again, as we catch it, this one, I believe, was 38 yards. Okay. So Reese was keenly aware of, his arm strength, and just, he knew based on this throw, I need to get it out at this time to this yardage, and my dude will be there. All right. Different game. So this time we're going hard play action here. Okay. Again, just kind of a quick 1-2 gather. Throwing this thing. This one was a little bit farther, than about 30, but all kind of within that 3-yard window. All right. Ideally, we're going about 38 with him is is kind of our ideal landmark. And, that one, sorry, don't really have any specific drills for it other than reps. And just being a realist, like, I think what made Reese really successful in our offense this last year was he was keenly aware of his strengths and weaknesses, and just kind of like leaned into it and accepted it and worked for him. One of the next most common mistakes I see is lack of touch on the ball. So a lot of quarterbacks, especially the high school level, just kind of want to throw, we call it a one ball. So we call them 1 ball, 2 ball, 3 balls. 1 ball is just like you're throwing it on a line right now, hitting him. That 2 ball is kind of that mid ball. We're trying to throw it, like maybe over a defender's head, but we're not throwing a deep ball. Think a lot of like drives, Y cross, things of that nature. And then our 3 balls are, our big looping deep balls. So the one I'm kind of talking about here is that second level throw. We just got to put a little bit of touch on it, but a lot of QBs I see just really, really struggle with this. And what ends up happening, and I see a lot, is because they don't have a lot of confidence in throwing that ball with a little bit of touch, like that changeup. They try and throw around defenders. So like still throwing zip on it, but throw around them. So they might wait a hair longer, which throws off some timing, or throw it a little sooner, which, they might throw it before the window actually opens. So they're throwing into a really tight window. So yeah, just by being able to put a little bit of touch on it, we can be on time and throw it whenever with confidence that we're going to hit a landmark. So here's an example. All right. So this is a big playoff game for us. Okay. We're just running power read, play action. Okay. We got our running back running up the seam here. I mean, nobody, like, he could throw this thing underhand, and we got him. He's just got to get it over these 2 dudes. But because he throws it really flat, that ball just never really, like what we say, turns over. Like the nose just kind of stays up and it drifts on him. Yep. We overthrow him. Show you the end zone view, so you can kind of see how he just really didn't trust it on this one. So as we're going here, shows it really flat, ball lands. And, it's only like a yard over his head, but he just puts any touch on it. And it's just an easy 6. All right. So to kind of help with this, one of the big ways is just getting that shoulder tilt. Okay. Because to be able to throw these second level balls, we can't have flat shoulders, is what I say. So if I go back to this bad clip here for a second, you'll see kind of what I'm talking about here. His shoulders, like he's throwing this ball like on a line as if there's nobody there. So he's just really, really flat and square here. But what we really want to work on is getting those shoulders tilted a little bit, which allows us to get under the ball and get the nose pointed up a little bit so they can kind of come down instead of just staying flat there. Okay. And I'm only standing about 5 yards over here. So they really got to get it up and get that thing to drop down. So if they don't get that big shoulder tilt and throw, it's not going to land 10 yards away. Another one I love doing, the receivers love this one too. I'll show you why in a second. We call this our touch anticipation. Now I got 2 nets out here to kind of give them a landmark to throw between, but don't have to, or you can put 2 people behind there. But all we're doing here, because we're also working, when you throw with anticipation, or when you throw a touch, you got to throw a little more anticipation. Part of the reason quarterbacks love just throwing that 1 ball is because they don't have to anticipate as much, because they can just like see it and rip it. But when you're trying to put a little touch on it, you actually got to throw it a little sooner. So you got to know when that window's coming and where he's going to be. So as he takes his drop here, all right, really good rep. We got to put a little bit of touch on it. Tell him just like your pitcher throwing a changeup, like we still need a little velo on it. But smooth over here. The one part, oh, you can't really see it, gets cut off here. The receivers are only allowed to use 1 hand to catch this. All right, they love this drill. And it's not for the receivers. Tell them that. It's for the quarterbacks here because it gives them that instant feedback. If you throw an absolute laser to a high school kid who's trying to catch the ball one-handed, all right, he ain't going to catch it. So we got to throw this with enough touch and early, right? Like he's throwing this thing pretty early. We're only about 15 yards away here, okay, where our receiver can catch it nice and soft with one hand. And we call this one our over-under drill here. So really just working on throwing over me, under the target. So just getting this thing up enough to get over, but still with enough touch where it's kind of turning over, getting that nose coming down on the way down for the receiver to catch it. All right, so you can see a couple clips here, better view of it. All right, so we're just throwing version of like wide juke here. Okay. Cover 3 looks up our safety, so he wants to throw this seam right here. He knows he's got this linebacker. All right, then as he goes, throws it, gets the touch over the linebacker, under, big completion. Okay. All right. Different example, just throwing a little rub route here, just get a little pick on him. And this is like, we are literally throwing this over the top of the defense here. Okay, so we have to put air on it. Otherwise, it's going to hit the back of that dude's helmet. And then just dropping it in the bucket. Okay, here's another one. It's actually the same team. A year later, different quarterback. Just to kind of show you guys the validity behind it. So going here, probably not the best read, but can't defend the perfect pass. Right, Kyle?
100%. It is. It's annoying. Don't throw perfect passes. It's annoying.
Gets this thing over, right in. Kind of got a sweep. This is from the news or somebody that was at the game. Over, under. So you got to. This goes a stud for us too.
Yeah, and it's also like it's one of those, like you said, because he puts loft on this. It's like that in between, because you can see the DB. He's trying to figure out whether he wants to try to go for an interception or hit the guy, and he almost gets caught in between.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
So that on top of everything, and then the underneath, because the underneath guy's jumping. He feels like, this is I'm uniquely positioned to talk about this as a corner in my career. He feels like the guy may tip it. Then he's like, do I pick it? Am I waiting for the tip? Do I hit the guy? And it's like all the above happens, and it's that paralysis by analysis, and he just gets completely frozen.
No, I didn't even think about that from a defensive perspective. That's a really good point. All right. Next one here. So kind of keeping on this deep ball theme here. Missing deep throws right and left. And this, to me, just kind of comes down to, again, just being like a realist and being self-aware and knowing the tendency of your ball flight, all right? Some guys, and I'll show you a couple clips here in a second, just have really good control of it, but knowing as a right-handed quarterback, just based on, the throwing motion, the nose of the ball is going to have the tendency to drift to the right, all right? And it gets exacerbated the farther you throw it. So just because, like, when you flick your wrist, you think about the throwing motion, you flick it, okay? It's just going to slightly turn to the right, which you wouldn't normally notice on if you're just throwing, like, a 5-yard hitch or a slant or something like that. But all of a sudden, you're putting a little more air on it, throwing it farther. It just has more time to turn, which is going to cause a little bit more dispersion of that ball the farther down it goes.
So it's the arm side that it typically goes, you're saying? So if I'm right-handed, it typically drifts to the right? That's interesting.
Yep. So I'll show you a couple clips here. So a couple years ago, this one, we were just straight our quarterback was just trying to throw a jump ball. All right. You can see we got a 6'4" kid on, I think he was like 5'8" or something. Just trying to throw him a jump ball, throws it up. So it starts out on a good line for this jump ball. Okay, but like I said, on that right, that nose the ball is going to have a tendency to drift. So we do got to put this thing out a little bit farther in front, a little bit more inside than we think when we're thrown to the right. Okay, and you can kind of see it just like the receiver was tracking it, and then it just kind of turns on him a little bit and ends up, like 2 yards behind him. And here's another example. I know this one's on the run. It's a little bit, but kind of if you watch the receiver here, you can see exactly what I'm talking about. So he's just running a straight line here. Tracking it, and you can see him just slowly start drifting to the right with the ball. No, still should have caught it, but okay.
Yeah, I've never thought about that. I was a punt returner too. Off the foot, we talked about that a lot, how it would drift, whether the ball turned over or not, but I've never really thought about off cornerback's hand, but it makes sense.
That's why Belichick loved the lefty punters. Just different.
It is different. It is so different.
Yeah. So then same thing. So on the right, throwing deep ball to the right, just got to know that that ball, the farther I throw, the more it's going to drift to the sideline. So I might need to aim just a touch more inside if I'm trying to throw it right versus the opposite when I'm going to the left here. Okay. So we're throwing a go ball to the field here. So what's this ball going to do? This is where they kind of drift inside. All right. So you can see this receiver just kind of slowly like loses leverage, has to come inside, gets batted down a little bit. So it's probably one of my favorite drills for just getting a kid kind of aware of like, because a lot of it also comes down to just the biomechanics of how a kid throws a football. I'm not like too picky about, the releases and stuff like that. There are things you can do with your wrist to kind of help it, but a lot of the times when they get to me at this point, they've got their upper body throwing motion pretty dialed in. So then it's just being aware of it. So sitting underneath one side, you got to get it. I know this angle probably doesn't do it justice, but it's a pretty tight window here. So you got to throw it between, I guess, in front of that one, but behind that one and just dropping it.
Yeah, Matt, I've always seen this drill, have no idea why anyone throws. This is the first time anyone's ever explained to me why it's important.
Yeah. Just controlling that noise of the ball. All right. So you can see here, Reese, really good thrower of the football. It's like he doesn't have nearly as much issues with it because he just has really like strong wrist on his release point. So he's able to control it pretty easily, get it in. Okay, then we flip it. Go both ways. This way is a little bit harder. All right. Too fast. Okay, because this one, they get around this one, but that ball is going to drift to the right. So they're trying to hit me. A lot of times it can end up here. It's really just focusing on that release point.
So we had a kicking coach that would do this with similar drill with the kickers, but obviously kicking through the uprights and trying to learn how to control the ball on a straight line. And yeah, so this makes perfect sense for that.
I feel like one of them hits it here. Maybe not. Might have cut it out. Only gave you guys my good stuff. All right. This is our drop it in the bucket drill. So one little like secret sauce for this. So as we're doing it, and I'll kind of point out, they're not allowed to make the same miss twice. Okay. So as we're going through this, I kind of showed I'm talking about these quarterbacks. So Graham goes first. And now he had a big tendency to miss on throws to the right. Like when throwing deep balls to the right, just kind of leading them too far to the outside. All right. So like right here, he's going to miss. Let me say just on like the inside of the net or the right side of the net. Okay. So his next miss, because a lot of it is just like that mental, I really, the definition of insanity, is doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different result. So I will, force them to make a mental adjustment. Like, hey, whatever you were aimed at last time, aim somewhere else. Okay. So you can see next one. Right. Same miss. So both those guys cannot have a miss to that position. All right. Reese goes a little long here. So his next one has to be short. Okay. So just kind of check him here. So then Graham's back up. I'm good with this. He misses on the opposite side than he missed last time. So I just love to see that they're making an adjustment. Okay. Next he goes. Same thing. He missed over here last time. Better miss somewhere else this time. And then last one. Reese missed long, so you better miss short. Boom, nails it. All right. So then just show you another quick example. Like I said, firm believer, everyone can throw the deep ball, should throw the deep ball.
And everybody loves to throw the deep ball.
Yeah.
We throw it to complete it.
Come see a high school game in Florida. They throw it to throw it.
They really do.
All right. Next common mistake I see is missing deep throws long. God, this one drives me insane. I tell quarterbacks, if you miss long, I will literally fight you. All right, just stop. Give him a chance. Give him a chance. Okay, and this one, I don't got any drills for this, fellas. I mean, this is just ingrained in them, getting reps, but also just kind of that mental. Like a lot of kids, they want to throw that perfect dime, lead them right out in front. That Joey Burrow to Jamar Chase type pitch and throw. But I'm like, y'all ain't playing on Sundays. Like, believe it or not, most of the successful deep balls happen. They feel like you're underthrowing it. That's all the time. Like, whatever you're aiming at after you overthrow it, you better underthrow it next time. Okay. So just to show you here, and let's kind of go back into my point from earlier, just knowing landmarks. All right, so we throw this one. Oh, roast him and miss. I don't know if y'all can notice. Big thing here is he actually does hit his landmark. Okay, he hits this at about 36 yards. The big difference, we went back and watched film on it. The big difference is this was not his same rhythm here, so he kind of skipped the hitch. He knew pre-snap we were going to like this. Got really excited to throw it, and that's what happens a lot, especially if you got stuff that you're like alerting or, you're taking the shot and you got the look you want. Kids get excited. They kind of just want to throw it and end up throwing it a little out of that timing. All right. Just kind of show you. So this is, just an absolutely terrible rep from our quarterback. Okay. Just running a double move here. All right. Hit as he throws, but he shouldn't have bailed. Literally just throws it up, right? Underthrows it. Give him a chance. Okay. And I know this is more of a highlight clip for our receiver than a quarterback clinic here, but just give him a chance. The best throw in football?
The one that
underthrown
scores?
deep ball.
Okay, yeah.
Pass
The
interference.
underthrown deep ball. Best throw in football. All right. Because I feel like the majority of the time, if a guy doesn't catch it, this poor dude is getting PI. Until they change that rule, it'll be the best throw in football. And kind of my last one here, throwing on the run versus what we call sprinting on the run. I know it's kind of not super intuitive, but when you're throwing on the run, we're just talking about kind of, like your sprint outs, your boot outs, like you're on the run, but you're kind of like that controlled on the run versus sprinting, right? Like you're running away from a defender.
Yeah.
You're trying to get away. Your feet are not usually underneath you. And when you're sprinting and trying to throw it, right, you're not worried about your feet as much. You're just trying to get this ball off, throw it to the receiver. So this is truly a different throw. And it has to be rep because it's actually a lot more arm. So whatever the kid's normal throw on the run, depth, perception is, I always tell them, like, when we're sprinting, man, we're trying to throw this thing above his helmet. All right. Because we're not really getting any ground force production since we can't really drive off that plant leg since we're like sprinting away from a dude. Usually our strides are a little bit longer. So which also is going to just throw off that ground force production. So when we're sprinting away, it is a little more army than we would like. So we just kind of got to know that, accept it, and, make the adjustment off it. I do try and just give them as many live reps as possible. Here's a clip, show what I'm talking about. So we are booting here, but we don't get a great play fake. And this dude chasing us down, re-sprint for his life. And y'all seen this before. We just skip the ball to him.
Yeah.
Right. Yep. As he's going, puts this ball about 5, just dirts it. Okay. And this just comes from that. From like a biomechanical standpoint, we're just way out in front a little bit more. Okay. We don't get that leg drive. We have a lot more momentum moving this way instead of this way. So everything just ends up shorter than it feels like. All right. So I just try and create like real scenarios where they are legit chasing each other down. So we call this our chase down drill. Okay. So they're face to face. Quarterback goes whenever. They're racing to this cone, trying not to get tagged. Okay. Get out of it as fast as possible. And he is sprinting. Okay. And just kind of figuring out that feel with how much more arm I have to use, what I have to like kind of make my launch angle, what I have to kind of basically like readjust in order to get this ball to a receiver while I'm sprinting.
Coach, is there anything you change up biomechanically teaching with the sprint out passing to do with the legs? Or I've seen some coach tell them to sweep the leg across. Anything like that you tell your quarterbacks to do, or you just make it natural?
Try to make it natural, but the big thing is I try and tell them if I took a picture of their upper half, like I shouldn't be able to tell that they are throwing on the run. So as they're going, I do try and emphasize, like aside from when we're sprinting, like just when we're doing sprint outs or boots, really having shorter strides, especially if it's a guy who's like struggles throwing on it on the run, making sure they're not going to be as long and wide if they don't have to be. Now, if you're getting chased down, yes, you just get out of there. But and then like some quarterbacks, like I'll let them kind of pitter patter a little bit if they need to make sure those feet get underneath them, and then just making sure we're always throwing off. So if I'm a right-handed quarterback, always making sure that I am getting turned, ready to go, and my right foot plants. Okay, right foot plants. Then I'm getting those shoulders cocked, and then as I'm going, I've actually I don't use the sweep the leg, but that is a good way of thinking about it. As I'm playing that right foot, get my shoulders turned, throwing the ball, and that left leg will just kind of naturally sweep through. But the big thing I would say is just making sure that they're throwing off that right foot and that they're doing whatever they need to make sure they're balanced. Because I don't think that pitter patter step is the worst.
Matt, you have no idea how bad I want to clip that and put it with the Karate Kid clip. Sweep the leg. Sweep the leg.
Okay.
All right. Yeah. Well, that's really all I got for you guys. Kind of put this out there. If people want anything, DM for OnlyFans. Wink, wink.
I almost spit out my water here, Matt, looking at it.
Yeah. Feel free to reach out. I love talking ball. Love talking quarterback stuff. Been fortunate enough to learn from a lot of awesome dudes.
I love it, Coach. Thanks for coming on and talking
Good
about
stuff.
it. It's definitely interesting. There's a couple things I learned as a back end defensive back guy, so it's nice. But Coach, we end every podcast with the same question. Not going to be a quarterback question. Maybe it is, but probably not. What's the most unique thing or special thing that your program does that no one else does in the country?
So,
or
keep in
not
mind,
many people do.
Yeah. We've only been a school for 8 years, so we are a new school. So I don't have a ton of tradition, but I do think one of the coolest ones that our previous head coach started that's now become just like a ritual is after home games when we win, they play Purple Rain over the PA system, and the entire student section, all the little kids line up by the gate. And, like one of our players on the field opens up the gate, and just all the kids get to come running onto the field, and they line up, make a big circle around all of our players. And we do these things to start practice, just called lightning jacks. I'm sure everyone does some form of jumping jacks where you spell out your school, nothing crazy. All the entire student body comes out and does lightning jacks with us, and all the little kids doing it. Somebody's got a little daughter now, and she loves running out, and all the other coaches' kids, obviously all the other coaches' kids have daughters, because I think
It's the way it works, man.
Yeah, there must be something we do to get daughters. But so we just our school-wide lightning jacks are probably one of the coolest things.
Yeah, no, like we said, it's always something different. It's, everywhere we hear something different, but we love asking that question because, like I said, Matt, maybe once we hit football season, we'll just clip them all together as a video we release on a Saturday of just every coach telling us their different unique things. And that's what they are. Like you said, if you have the whole student body out there doing lightning jacks with you, that's really cool, right? There's some schools where you can't get the student body to show up to a football game. So you wouldn't be able to do that, right? Or you can't get them to act correctly at a football game, which was a couple schools me and Matt were at, right? So, it's a different story altogether with that. But Coach, really appreciate your time tonight. Thanks for coming on here. Another Iowa coach. We love it. So appreciate everything that you did. Thanks, Matt. Did you have a question there?
I got one more thing.
Okay.
Man. I just want to say, Coach, I love that you started the whole presentation with the finishing position. To me, that resonated. I guess I've never been one to teach any biomechanics of throwing a football or anything, but when you start there with the finishing position, it kind of gives you a reference point of where you're going to get to by the end and what it should look like at the end of it. I think that's awesome. That is excellent.
Appreciate it.
That's all I have.
Love it. Well, Coach, for me and Matt, we appreciate you coming on tonight, and we will definitely hear from you in the future.
Awesome. Thanks you again, guys.
All right. Have a great night.